Right, are you?
Hey, are you?
Oh, no, they can do it, so, you know.
Yeah. I usually sit there and then it's a distraction, learning about this.
No one.
So you're not looking How I mentioned these two.
I still haven't been up to their. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the RVTPO meeting for June 27th, 2024. This time I'd ask Jeremy to call the roll.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Clinton. You may be arriving a little late, but Ms. White.
Here.
Mr. Fidzikowski, you let me have a copy of that. Chair North.
Here.
Mr. Radford.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Ms. McReynolds. Mayor Turk was not able to make it, but we have Mr. Holliday.
Yes.
Here and Mr. Foley.
Here.
Mr. Lyles. Mr. Stovall.
Here.
Mr. Price. Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Hubert, are you online?
I sure am.
Thank you. Mr. King.
Here.
We have a floor.
Thank you very much. Item 3 on the agenda is approval of consent agenda items. Item A is the approval of the agenda. Item B, action on the April 25th, 2023, or I should say 2024, RVTPO minutes, pages 3 through 21. Do I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda? So moved. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, and the item 3 is approved. Remarks from the chair. Round 2 of the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure CFI Discretionary Grant Program has opened. The application deadline of August the 28th. This program provides a minimum of $500,000 towards the implementation of a range of alternative fuel infrastructure, including electric, hydrogen, natural gas, and propane. Local governments, both within and outside of the TPO, as well as the TPO itself, are eligible applicants. If your locality is interested in pursuing an application and would like technical support, please reach out to the TPO Secretary Jeremy Holmes for assistance. I also want to remind TPO members that the July meeting of the TPO will be canceled to accommodate summer vacation and travel schedule. Please watch for the formal cancellation notice to come out in the next few weeks. Finally, the Regional Commission is undertaking an update of its legislative agenda, which contains several transportation items. Legislative Committee's goal is to have the updated agenda complete in the hands of our General Assembly members by mid to late July. If you have any suggestions or recommendations for this updated agenda, please let me or Jeremy Holmes know so that it can be considered at an upcoming Legislative Committee meeting. Today, we have Delegate Terry Alston, who represents the 37th District of the Virginia House of Delegates with us. Currently, he is serving his 6th term in the House. He is on the committees of Appropriations, Transportation, Rules, and General Law. He also serves as chairman of the Virginia 250 Commission and is a member of the I-81 Advisory Committee. the MEI Project Approval Commission, and the Governor's Advisory Council on Revenue Estimates. Delegate Austin is a native of Buchanan, Virginia, and president of Austin Electrical Construction Incorporated, a small business that specializes in airport runway lighting, which he founded 47 years ago. He also serves on the boards of the Bank of Bogota and Carillion Clinics. We'd especially like to thank Delegate Austin for his time today. As we know, he will be in Richmond tomorrow morning for a special session on the Virginia Military Survivors and Dependents Education Program, and on Monday for a meeting of the Major Employment and Investment Commission. Delegate Austin, welcome, and also welcome with Delegate Austin, Matt Miller, his legislative assistant. Thank you. You may have the voting.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be here with you today. I have some allergies, and this morning I took some Nyquil. He said, we should have taken Nyquil. So I didn't have day. If I go to sleep, Matt's gonna take over. As Bill said, I serve on appropriations, and there I serve on transportation and higher ed also, so subcommittees of appropriations. Previously chaired transportation 2 years when the Republicans were in leadership. I'm a senior ranking Republican on appropriations right now. Do chair the 81 committee, serve on rules, general laws. General laws I'm not a big fan of. I don't like dealing with rental properties, and I'm on that subcommittee. So what an annoyance, but I'm there. Serve on rules, chair the I-81 committee, carried the legislation. Well, I was a chief co-painter and actually got the legislation passed for the I-81 bonding issue that we did, the $2 billion in 2019. And we're continuing to work through today. I do chair the VA 250 commission. That's a commission to celebrate the commemoration of the birthplace of our nation, birthday of our nation, 2026. We've got a big event coming up on July the 4th at the Capitol this year. Next year, we're probably going to go to Fort Monroe and have an event here in Roanoke. The following year, we'll be at George Washington's home and then down at Williamsburg for conclusion. If you go to the National VA 250 website and look at it, you'll find no mention of Virginia. So how can you have a nation born 250 years ago in Williamsburg and Yorktown and not mention Virginia? So we're taking the lead. We've had 2 events, one March of last year, one March of this year. March of last year, we had 34 states in attendance. This year, we had 37 states in attendance, other states. So I think I'm embarrassed by the fact that the NA 250 is not doing more statewide, nationwide, and they're not identifying Virginia. We have 8 presidents from Virginia. And in my opinion, we declare ourselves as the birthplace of the nation. We're going to demonstrate that with our celebrations. MEI Approval Commission, approving incentives for any industries coming into Virginia. Anything above $10 million in incentive has to go before MEI for approval. I serve on that. I've been on that for 4 years now. Joint Committee to Study Feasibility of Gaming Commission. I know probably a lot of you all have dealt with that in counties and localities. Gambling was tremendously being abused in Virginia. Skill games that we may entertain tomorrow in legislation was operating throughout the Commonwealth, unregulated, not taxed. They were going to localities, fire departments, nonprofits, 501c3, saying, let us put your name on this machine, we'll give you 20% of the take. And they were taking 80%. And it was just unbelievable the number of dollars that were flowing through Virginia untaxed. And it was just almost robbery. And unfortunately, we had to pull it all back. Bingo, pool tabs, moose lodges, VFWs, anything and everyone had any kind of charitable gaming operation, we pull it all back and put policy in place to regulate it. And that, between that and the VA 250, I barely have time to sleep, because I'm telling you, that is a changing target every day. We think we have it under control. We think we have it to the point of regulation. Something else crops up. So we're going to bring all that more than likely under lottery. We're going to staff up lottery, and there will be subsets. You've got historical horse racing, you got charitable gaming, you got casinos, tremendous amount of money. Fantasy games, online sports betting. A lot of those dollars just go outside of the country. Those activities happen outside of our boundaries of the country. So we're trying to pull all that back and tax it as it should be. I know a lot of our convenience stores and our small business owners feel like, they had that privilege, they had that right. Through charitable gaming, and I didn't come here to talk about this, but I want, while I've got this captive audience, I want to enlighten you, because I know you're probably dealing with it or hearing about it. Through charitable gaming, you put yourself on a list for problem gambling. And if we do this in convenience stores, I'm not so sure how we'll regulate the problem gambling. An individual put himself on a problem gambling list in Bristol, disguised himself. They have license plate readers when you pull in the parking lot, they have facial identity recognition. Disguised himself, went into the casino, was gambling. They found him. The casino had to pay a $50,000 fine. What's going to happen in a convenience store when a person puts themselves on the problem gambling list? Now, having said that, I may vote for that bill. I voted for it last time. I voted for it last time because I structured in that bill percentage of revenue. Our projections are charitable gaming, the skill games machines will generate $400 million annually to the Commonwealth. I structured in that bill a percentage of that revenues would go to I-81. I'm doing anything and everything I can in Richmond to find pennies, nickels, dimes, dollars to fund I-81, because we've got to be able to support another bond issuance going forward. 2032, maybe 2034, when we conclude the $3 billion in work that we're currently doing, we got to have another bond issuance. We got to have the revenues to move forward. So if you say I voted for it, you say, well, everything you told me contrary, but I've got to get money any way I can there. And so in saying that, I'll tell you the reason I voted for it the first time. I may vote for it again, I just don't know. The speaker was supportive of the bill. And he didn't know he had the votes. So I went to the speaker and I said, look, Mr. Speaker, I can help you get some votes on my side, but you got to give me some of the money for I-81. And he agreed to that. So I put a percentage in there, like 10%. So then in the end, we knew the bill wasn't going to make it. We knew the governor won't sign a bill. So he said, Terry, out of fairness to you, and he understands the needs for I-81 also, he said, let's put some money in the budget. So that's why there's $175 million in the budget this year. And we are the first contingency after the budget to get funded that $175 million if the revenues continue to grow to exceed the forecast. So there's a little background there, how politics works in Richmond a little bit. You do everything you can when you can to grasp an opportunity. And that's what I've done there. I also serve on the Joint Committee of Study Elementary and Secondary Education Funding. Gaker, the Governor's Advisory Council, that's a list of assembled business leaders throughout the Commonwealth and a few legislators to look at the economy and do forecasting and see where the revenues are, where we can expect the revenues to be. Roanoke River Basin Advisory Committee, the Roanoke River Bi-State Commission, and then the Joint Committee on Growing Needs of Nova Public Transportation. That's a new committee that was formed primarily this year because of the needs of WMATA and Northern Virginia transportation costs. Adam Evan, Senator, is going to chair that, and he wanted me to serve on that with him, so I'm going to do that. Between those, and spending a lot of time in Richmond, I did give up JLARC and State Board to go to Virginia. I just didn't have time to do it all, so not on those anymore. But there's a lot of things there that are very, very important to our region. MEI in particular, approved funding and incentives for the growth of our economy and our revenues in this region are just amazing. We got to have it. So let's talk a little bit about Interstate 81. I think that's primarily what you all are interested in. It's the transportation aspects, and not just I-81. I want to talk about transportation as a whole throughout this region. Ken knows, I was on the phone with the Secretary this morning, Secretary Jeff Miller, talking about some things associated. And Ken just told me the project in Botetourt from exit 150 to 581 did today, maybe Ken.
Like we opened this last week.
Opened this last week on that project. That's a 5-year project. That's very, very, very important. What's important about the 81 improvements for us in our region is the fact that we're going to try to go from 119 at the top of Christian Bird Mountain, Texas, 150 in Botetourt County, with 3 lanes in each direction. We had a gap in Salem, a 9-mile gap on the southbound side. We just didn't have the money when we put the plan together to fund that 9-mile section. We tried to spread those revenues out across the Commonwealth. And let me back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about how that came about. After we passed the legislation, Governor Northam, when the bill went to him, he said he wanted to put an amendment on the bill. My wife and I were down in Marathon, Florida, in a motorhome. I got a call from Secretary Valentine. She said, Terry, where are you? I said, well, we're vacationing in Marathon, Florida, just got another session. She said, well, I need you to come back home. I need you to come to restaurant. I said, you're kidding? She said, nah. I said, here, tell my wife that. She did. I didn't sleep on the couch that night, but I may have to. So we loaded up, came home, went to the Patrick Henry building, and I took Delegate Will with me and Sam Russell. No, delegate from Blacksburg at the time. Can't remember his name. He's not there. Newscaster here. Chris Harvey. But Chris with me, because I wanted a Democrat, I wanted bipartisan now. And so we went to the Patrick Henry building and Dale Bennett with the Virginia Truckers Association. Dale and I are good friends. Dale trust me and I trust him. So I had told Dale that we wouldn't do anything on interstate to search out or find funding that would damage the Truckers Association without the Truckers Association participating in that decision. So Dale was there and he had the chairman at that time was from ABC Trucking, ABC Carriers, I think. And we worked for 2 days through, and they had perceived that they were paying a percentage of fuel tax, motor carrier tax, that they weren't. And they didn't, so we subscribed to a subscription that they had and delved into it. We, meaning the secretary and some of the transportation people in Richmond, and found out that they weren't paying what they thought they were paying. So when we showed them that evidence and produced it to them, they then agreed that, you know, they would, to the tax increase. And it was a federal excise tax on fuels. It was a registration tax on tractor trailers and tandem axle trucks, dump trucks. And we made it consistent with other states up and down the I-81 corridor. And believe it or not, we were losing a lot of money because Maryland and West Virginia and Tennessee were taxing and we weren't. And we're not good in Virginia, I can tell you, at keeping our tax structure orderly. We don't review it as consistently as we should. So that's how we generated the revenues necessary to support the $2 billion in bond issuance. That's how the money originated. So here we are to 2019 when that bill passed to 2025. And we're really just getting into the heart of these projects. I mean, we've done a few in the Salem district. We got one going on right now, 64 and 81 in Stanton. And we're doing some little bit of stuff. Now, Bristol was in better shape than we were. They had more 3-lane miles. But in our region, we had when we began this work, we had 59 3-lane miles in Virginia, 640 3-lane miles in Virginia. When we conclude this $3 billion in work, we'll have about 89 lane miles, 3-lane miles in Virginia. So do the math, guys. At $30 million a mile, sometimes 35 million. Ken's probably got the most expensive part of I-81. Ken's high maintenance anyway. $35 million a mile, is it not, Ken?
That's about right.
That's about what it's costing us here. So, you know, 175 million sounds like a lot of money. What's that, 5.5 miles of road? 6 miles of road, not much. And so, the numbers, people look at it, oh man, why is it costing so much? You can't do this. Why can't you do it? It's just so expensive. We waited too long. We have waited too long. I wish we could go back to SAR Solutions, man. I'd get that $10 billion on a heartbeat, but we can't. So we're here, we're where we are. So we're working through it. I'm searching, as I said, every day for every dime, every dollar that we can come up with some additional money to continue after 2032. I put some language in this year with the commissioner and myself and secretary talked about it and in the Commonwealth transportation system, you can't fund the project. You can't advance the project unless it's fully funded. Well, we came up with a situation where we determined that Interstate 81, because it had a consistent continuing revenue stream, the monies are going to be there. I mean, the monies we collect $70 million, maybe a little more right now, off the gasoline, 2.1% gas tax that I put on the bill that I almost got unseated for because I put 2.1 pennies a gallon on gas to come up with $70 million, which is 2 miles of the interstate. Keep that in mind. Every year. So we put that on and, you know, that, it just takes every penny. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But, so we're working through that. We're growing monies above what we use to service the debt every year. We're going to end up with about $3 billion. I think we're growing about 100, maybe 100 million a year. You know, Ken, you know that number.
I don't, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to $100 million a year. We're growing, maybe a little more, with revenues. So, you know, we're staying within the plan right now. The 9 mile gap that we appropriated $70 million for, that I put in the budget this year. Some people got pretty agitated when, and I suspect you all did also, but you know, if you don't know the whole story, you may not be as aggravated at the fact that we appropriated $770 million out of the general fund to fund the 27 mile gap east of Richmond, between Richmond and Williamsburg. But we did, you know, we took $700 million out of the general fund. And I'm more than likely the person who ultimately responsible for that, because I remember when the CARES Act monies came through, I was a budget conferee, and Secretary of Transportation came to me and said, "Terry, we really need to do something about it, the gap between Richmond and Williamsburg, because it's an evacuation route. In the event of a hurricane, you get masses of people, and they've got to get out of there, and you couldn't do it. You can't back up." So George Barker, Senator Barker was a conferee at the time. And the secretary wanted $50 million to do a study. And I said, okay, we'll do that out of the general fund. George, I remember George spoke up and said, "We never fund transportation out of the general fund." And I said, "I understand, George, but we'll pay it back. This is CARES Act money, and we'll pay it back." And 2 years later, we took $600 million out to do that project. But I didn't vote against it. I supported it. It's just like Interstate 81. It's necessary. All these projects are necessary. I don't care what anyone in this room says. If you think that we're wasting money, you're mistaken, because there's not enough money. But, so we doing that 27 mile gap, it's under construction now. So in doing that, inflation ate into our dollars on Interstate 81. And the southbound side that we had not funded. Ray Smoot, Dr. Smoot and I got together and talked about that. We decided that we would take the monies from 119 on the northbound side, Christiansburg Mountain, coming downhill, doesn't impede the flow of traffic, and take those dollars and put them on the 9 mile gap inside. But inflation, we've reduced our revenues down $70 million. So I wrote the governor a letter and explained to him our need. We're $300 million short on a project up in Winchester, $370 million out of plan because of inflation. So I asked for $370 million, so I got $70 million, and then I got $175 million. So, and those dollars will go back to the original plans in the master plan for I-81. Before we do anything outside that plan, we'll fulfill our obligations there, including the mountain. We'll go, once we complete everything, we'll go back and do the mountain project also. So, you know, it takes a lot of dollars. It takes a lot of, we'll save $70 million. By doing that $70 million southbound side concurrently with the northbound side, VDOT Engineering said we'll save $70 million in efficiencies. And our efficiencies will save that much money. So it's foolish not to do it. But at the same time, it's like when you go to the grocery store, you don't have money to buy groceries, you can't buy. You got to do what you can. But the language that I put in the budget that allows us to advance projects before they're fully funded is what will really help expedite. We think we can expedite the completion of the current plan by as much as 2 years, because we can do the work on design, environmental, erosion sedimentation, without that project being fully funded and sitting there waiting on these works to take place. So that's, you know, that's where we are. I had a conversation with the governor some time ago. I had several conversations with the secretary, and we took a look at a PPP, interstate. Partnership, yeah, PPP. Yeah, a partnership. And we looked at that from Route 64 intersection east at Stanton to the West Virginia line, so 108 miles. And we were gonna do a managed lane. So if you've been down around Charlotte, Statesville through there, you get the left lane is a toll lane, the right two or not. There's language that Speaker Gilbert put in years ago, just can't toll I-81. But I talked to Todd and he was agreeable to amend that language and put another bill in, say that you can't amend the existing lanes, but you can't toll the existing lanes, but you can toll an additional lane. So that would have allowed 108 miles in each direction to be added a third lane. So we did a deep dive, we heard some consultants, VDOT did, and a report came back that it was probably not manageable because of the toll at that time. I'm not so sure. I'm real worried, folks, that there's never gonna be enough money to accomplish what we need. And the only way we're gonna really make traffic flow when we have an accident is to have a third lane. And if we don't have the money to do it ourselves, and we would land lease to them. And the land lease would be, let's just say for 50 years, they would build it, they would maintain it, and they would open it up for free travel when they found an accident. And then after the term, 50 years or whatever that term was, the property would revert to ownership of the Commonwealth. We would own it. No, there's a lot of people in the room don't like tolls. If you don't, tell me where we're gonna come from $35 million a mile. I mean, I've exhausted my abilities. I'm at wit's end. So we sat with the governor, we sat with the secretary, and some of us like the legislators, and we talked about it, and we did the study and it came back. I don't know that we won't revisit that at some point in the future. And I hope we do, before you oppose it, you listen and understand a little bit about why we're doing it, why we have to do it, and why it may be the only viable solution at the time to make any substantial difference. So we've gone from 2019 to 2025, 6 years. And we're going to go to 2032, that'll be 11 years. And we're going to add 30 lane miles. So they were going to build that in about 5 years, 108 miles, lanes in each direction, 216 lane miles. I don't see how we do that out of the budget, out of the how we transportation trust fund. So, don't shoot me, I'm just a mess. A lot of people don't like tolls, but I don't like them out. I don't like sitting in traffic. I don't like Sunday as a motorcycle accident, Buchanan. Fatality. Put traffic on Route 11. Ken King's hair got grayer. Because what happened is when we put on Route 11 and Waze turns Route 11 red, then they started seeking out alternative routes. They went to Pencastle, went down 630 to Springwood Road. I mean, it's just, you can't move. What do we do in emergency services? What if someone have a heart attack? Sam has an ambulance response. Now, granted, Buchanan's kind of unique because of that river bridge. It all is like a tunnel that goes to that bridge. And it's difficult. But I don't care if that bridge weren't there. Between 162 and 168, it's going back up. Route 11 can't accommodate that flow on one lane in each direction. So, if we're looking for ways to fix a problem, better be open-minded. Better be open-minded. Because otherwise, I will fix the problem. Not in my, well, I know it in my lifetime. So, just saying. Any questions from you all about I-81? We're going to shift gears a little bit here. We can do it at the end, we can do it now. Yes, sir.
This may not be, something for you to answer, but I'm just curious. I mean, we used to talk about $1 million a mile. I think that was a lot of money. So 2 parts to that. Why is it so much more expensive? And where is that money going? Is it going back to Virginia businesses or is it going somewhere else?
Depends on, anyone with a transportation license can bid the project. I mean, Archer Western is from Ohio or West Virginia, Ken, where are they from?
Depends on their parent company is in Iowa.
In Ohio, but they probably set a subsidiary up here in Virginia. The aggregate, the asphalt, the labor, the machinery cost, all these things have inflated the cost. Now, the efficiencies and productivities have gone up. They accomplish a whole lot more in a short period of time, but you have to have these equipments to do it. Everything, machines now are run by GPS, satellite. It runs the blade, whatever. So there's a lot of improvements and efficiencies, but all that costs money. And that's why the cost is inflated. Now, I can't tell you, I don't know the profit margin, I know mine. And I can tell you in the 47 years I've been there, the costs have gone up substantially. And I'm not netting a whole lot more money on a percentage basis than I was previously. So, you know, it's just cost of doing business today, I think. Anyone else? Okay, well, we'll switch over to rail a little bit here. Rail is, you know, we have rail, Matt, where are you with rail here in this? Rail has done, well, and, you know, I think rail will continue to do well. The problem with rail is we're running Amtrak on freight rails, you know, and we have windy tracks were built for hauling coal or cargo. They weren't built for moving people. But still, Roanoke has far exceeded in 2022, 269,000 passengers, 2023, 332,000 passengers. But then, just imagine if those people weren't riding by train, they'd be on the interstate. They'd be, you know, they'd be going down the highway. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of rail. I think we have to have it. And I want us to have it, but I really want to see us improve it, and that's challenging. It's very, very challenging, but we have freight rails, not passenger rail. We are going to get to the New Valley. I was not, Jennifer Mitchell was a really good friend of mine, but she was a chairman, she was a director of Virginia Department of Public Transit. Jennifer now with Federal Rail Administration. Jennifer DeBrule took over. Jennifer DeBrule is now retired. Apparently I'm staying too long. But, you know, we're gonna get to the New Valley. We erred a little bit in picking what we thought was a better site. And then ultimately we found out that we had this tunnel we had to go through, the Merrimack Tunnel. Half a mile, maybe a mile long, I don't remember the length of it, 27 stories on the ground. And Amtrak told us, well, you might want to go through there, we're gonna let you. So we had to back up and rather go to the east of the tunnel, build a station, get there quickly on the Virginia line, which we had acquired, Southern. We backed up and we said, no, we don't want to do that because we ever want to go far further south to Abington. We got to go there to Center Bar, back the train up, get on the main line, and go to Abington. That make us about silly. So we didn't do that. We just stopped and restudied and came up with the old station in Christiansburg, which I think would be really nice. We'll get there. We'll be there in 26, you know, 2 years out. It's, Donald Southern's worked with us very, very well. I think the president of Southern now may be at Virginia Tech, right? Hope that's some influence and importance to him. If it is, I sure do appreciate it. So, so that relationship is growing. I do want to get to Abington. I do want to get there. I've got a rail map in my office. I'm probably the only legislator in Richmond that's got a rail map on the wall, but you know, we kept talking about rail until I couldn't own a rail. But, you know, so we got the rail map, and if you look at it, from Christiansburg to Abington is probably the straightest rail we have in Virginia. I mean, so, you know, eager to do that. It's a long ways out. We need to get Tennessee, and we're working to get Tennessee on board because when we get there, we need to go on into Tennessee. And if we're going to do it with some federal rail dollars, we got to have some collaboration. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is to make that happen. But I think rail is really important, just simply from the benefit of taking cars off the interstate. The interstate problem is such a problem that we have very little control over. We've got to spend some dollars in other areas to do what we can to help that situation. The Virginia Breeze is a bus that the Department of Rail and Public Transit runs. They run that from Bristol, Blacksburg, to Christiansburg, to Roanoke, to Harrisonburg, and on north to Washington. It's amazing. In 2023, 15,000 riders and 30,000 riders in Blacksburg, Washington, D.C. So it, you know, there again, it's a means by which to take some people off the interstate. First, I didn't agree with it, and I agreed that we do it on a trial basis to see what the ridership was. And then when I saw that, you know, it's a few more cars to take it off the highway. So if you see it running down the highway, purple and blue, Virginia Breeze, you know what it is. Another place that I'm working with some people here from Roanoke and Blacksburg, the Blue Ridge Innovation Corridor. You may know what it is, you may not. Connection between Blacksburg, Roanoke, Franklin, and Martinsville, and over to Danville. So, Jim Frith, Hayward Brown, Ben Davenport, Brent Neely, and some others, SR is a consultant group they employed. SR is a group that did a study on the 27-mile gap east of Richmond. So I agreed to hold a meeting in General Assembly building, Secretary of Transportation, Commissioner, and Chief Engineer at the beginning of this past session to talk about that area. And the Southern Connector, I was approached a couple of years ago and talked to the governor, found out very quickly that wasn't gonna happen. We didn't have $775 million to build Southern Connector. So last year, a year ago, I put in budget language for VDOT to study the connection between the North Carolina border and 58-220. That realignment of that big path that we call the road in Virginia there. Now, I'm sorry, Ken, that's in your business. Before your time. You didn't build it. You didn't build it, brother.
I hear
So, we did do a study of that. The Secretary, Commissioner, and Chief Engineer looked at that. I didn't get to go. I had to be in Richmond. I was supposed to pick up delegate from Mark Franklin to ride down. So I had to be in Richmond. Previewed that. I think it was, one liked what they saw. So maybe we'll get that at some point. I think there was a letter went out, Eric Phillips, some letter, you may have gotten it. We all signed on to it. Encouraging VDOT to take action with the new gas line and the industrial park in Franklin County, Mr. Sandy over there and others that work so graciously on to make happen. With that and the one in Martinsville and all over the Berry Hill. We'll start a little bit about Berry Hill. As a member of MEI, when we were entertaining the Hyundai project, that was a massive project. The infrastructure was not in place to accommodate it. I was scared to death that they were going to agree to come. We were offering a lot of incentive money because it was a large investment and there's a lot of jobs. Man, we're nowhere close to being prepared to handle something of that nature. So this will help. We can go 220 from Martinsville to Roanoke. We can do some spot improvements, some curve corrections and some realignments, spot improvements, not a major overhaul, the whole 4-lane system. And it will accommodate the flow for several years. But we got to do that. And that's the purpose for this brick innovation corridor. And that, from their study, that area is the fastest growing segment in Virginia region. That area is growing faster than Northern Virginia, Tidewater, and others. So we now have a case to present to the governor. If you're going to present something to this governor, it better be a business plan. And it better show that it's a worthy investment. Because I tell you, it's not. I've been with him a lot. So, that's important. That's really important that we grow that sector. Virginia Tech has so much to offer. Roanoke Valley, the Med Center, biomed facilities, Franklin County and the gas line. We can really change this region dramatically. Which leads me to my next subject matter is the airport. Airport, worked out there for 4 years. Relit it about 3 times now. I'll do it again tomorrow if they ask me.
I got the FAA out there inspecting us today for certification, so I appreciate
Do you
you.
want? Well, we just have so many, we're so behind here. And I had the aspiration of going to legislature. I served 16 years in local government, planning commission, 20 years total there. When Putney retired, I said, well, I was looking for somebody to run. I couldn't find anyone. Finally, they said, why don't you do it? So Don Williamson was ready to back me on my seat on the board, and I did. And in doing so, I learned I had lunch with some Democratic friends of mine who were very influential legislators in Richmond. All there. At one point with Roanoke and the size of Roanoke and the growth of Virginia, we're on that. We can make things happen. But that power shifted to Northern Virginia so damn fast and tidal where the shipyard is. They don't know where we are. I mean, if we don't make a lot of fuss and we don't stir things up, they don't know where you are. So we're doing that. And get a lot of help. See a nice lady over here, Franklin County. She's eager to or more trouble. That will help, yeah, take all if I get. But, airport is so important to move. And Michael Friedlander told me, he said, Terry, we got to get people out. Facilities around the nation, and he's right. It's just so challenging. We need $400 million. We got to extend the runway. We got to cross 581. We need an 8,000-foot runway. I mean, who knows what air mobility is going to be? But I'll tell you, large jets are not going to go away. You got to move masses. You got to move people in masses. So they're going to have large jets. And in order to do that, you can't have EMAS off the end of the runway because you don't have overrun safety areas. Right now, it's my opinion and my theory, and Mike probably counter it a little bit, but you know, the reason you fly into Greensboro late and you're flying is canceled because the weather's marginal and Roanoke, they're not going to put the rookie pilot. Well, how to cancel the flight? Liability is too great. I wouldn't do it. But that's part of our reason. And I think the only way we're going to rectify it, fix it, is to extend that runway to be, make it a safer runway. You know, you need to be on instrument approach runway. You should see from end to end. You should see it should be flat. Our runway has a crown on the center of it. It's the end there, 581 is 9 feet lower than the north end. Is that correct? Mike, 9 feet. So, you know, this is all important, folks, but it all ties together. But you know what? I can't accomplish it by myself. Ken can't accomplish it by himself.
We got it in our legislative agenda for the regional commission last year, and we hope to carry it over again this year.
Good.
And it's staying there, as long as I'm around encouraging it stays in there until it's done.
Well,
So, but we gotta do one other thing. We gotta take the chief of staff for Senator Kane out on the runway one day if we can get a free moment before flights take off and land, because he says he doesn't see where there's efficiency in that runway, and would probably debate that.
Mike Henry.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Mike and I've talked about it. I've talked to Warner, I've talked to Kane. They're both agreeable. And I've got the governor in agreement now that he'll revisit it and do something. I just haven't had time to do it. To engage the whole situation, we'll have to. But it's really important, folks. It's just as important as this interstate.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, that's $400 million to make that happen. That's what it costs. And, but Mike knows, Mike's been in Roanoke, been in Dulles, and come back to Roanoke. He knows the importance of it. Air mobility, I had a gentleman come in my office this year. He's got a device powered by hydrogen, can fly from here to Austin, Texas. Carry, I've forgotten the payload, maybe 600, 800 pounds of payload. And, you know, unmanned. And that's where that's going. And, you know, we were close to being a test bed for some unmanned aviation that will eventually come. We put some money in the budget this year. And I agreed with the money going in the budget, but I also agreed that it wasn't going where they wanted to put it. I wanted to send it to Winchester, Little University, Shenandoah University up there. But I said, no, we have aviation's component at Virginia Tech, and that's where this money has to be used. So I don't mind the Valley being the test bed for it, but I want Virginia Tech, New Valley, Roanoke, Weir's Cave, and on up to Winchester if necessary. So, air mobility's coming. It's going to be here. But unmanned commercial air carriers is coming also. You're going to get on a plane one day. There's not going to be a pilot and co-pilot in the cockpit. There's not going to be anybody in the cockpit. They're going to be sitting in a room like this on a simulator flying an airplane. It's closer than what you know, guys. Closer than what you know. You know what and the thing about it is they can test it at any airport. They can land it and take off. The thing that Roanoke has that they need is they've got a taxi to the gate. They got to land, they got a taxi to the gate. Not every airport has jetways. Not every airport has a terminal for them to taxi to. So we've got a little feather in our cap. We're working on that. And I hope we can make it happen. Because if we make that happen, then that puts us in a better posture to get this $400 million that we need with FAA. So, you know, but it takes everybody in this room. And I would say, Phil, right now, you all should be writing the governor to say, we need this runway extension in Roanoke. The Delegate Austin's talked to you about repeatedly, don't say that, but he, you know, we need this runway extension in Roanoke. we're working on the interstate, you got Amtrak to Christiansburg, we value all that. But now, what's really behind is this runway extension at Roanoke. That makes a difference. So, you know, all these things add up. They all add up to the success of this region. I don't know how long you want me to talk. Before Phil, I'm probably too long, but any questions, Phil? I mean,
You're doing a great job and covering a lot of the subjects that I know are on our legislative agenda, but, if anyone's got any questions on anything else other than what's been mentioned, now's the time to ask those questions, because you're never gonna have, someone of, Delegate Austin stature standing up here that can answer them in person. And, well, don't be shy. Yes, Peter Mollison.
Delegate Austin, I thank you for all this information. It's been wonderful. And we talked about the expansion of the train from Roanoke to Christiansburg. I was interested in what the timeline is for us to be connected to the eastern part of the state through that one Virginia line that they're supposed to be working on.
I don't, there's not, to my knowledge, any dollars right now that are going to the engineering of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to have that, Peter. I mean, I would love to go from Virginia Beach to Richmond to Roanoke. But that's like building the interstate, basically. I don't know what the cost per mile would be for high-speed rail, but if we build it, we need to build high-speed rail. And you, land acquisition, condemnation, everything you have to do to go pretty straight, but you want to go a high rate of speed. But I don't know where that is, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But I can have Matt inquire for you. We'll inquire and get back to you, Peter, if you give us a call.
Okay.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
On the rail question, you hit this and everybody talks about that is, you know, one of the problems is it is slow because we're on freight, right? Is there a way to improve those, or would improving the time require a whole new type of track?
Well, Amy, you know, Norfolk Southern has a right of way, and the right of way is where it is.
Right,
So, you know, you can't go so fast around a curve. And when we go from Roanoke to Christiansburg, that rail line has to be brought up to passenger rail. It's freight rail now. The crossings, the signalization, all the maintenance on them has to be brought up to Amtrak standards. And we do that, but it still doesn't allow the speed because the corridor is where the corridor is.
so it's the curve, it's not the
It's-
type of
that's
track, it's
That's
the,
right.
it's
You
the
can only
winding.
go so fast around
Right.
the corridor.
Gotcha.
Now, you know, the long bridge up in Potomac, across Potomac, you know, we're spending $3 billion up there to improve that. You know, right now, we only have two routes, one in each direction, and they're freight and they're passenger. So we're going over there and build parallel, and that's strictly gonna be passenger. That's gonna improve the connectivity to New York and north and south tremendously. But that's, you know, it's $3 billion we're spending up there, but that's really necessary. I mean, we have trains sitting and waiting to cross that long bridge right now, so. Yep.
Question here.
Yes, Phil and I have been a long time friends. He'll probably tell you I never listened to him, but I am gonna listen to him today.
What's your name?
Mike Stovall.
Mike, okay.
I'm vice mayor of Benton Council.
I think you talked to Matt just a couple days ago.
I did, ABC issue.
Yeah.
Love to talk to you before you leave, but anyway. Naturally, he said I could ask a question I deal with transportation, and I'm just asking, as you very well know, as everybody probably in this room knows, we have roads and sets in
Yes, sir.
down there. So do you have a flavor of what you think that gaming bill's gonna do tomorrow, or is it not gonna do anything? If I'm putting you on the spot, you don't wanna answer, tell me to be quiet, I'll be quiet.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'm a big proponent of roses.
We are too. We got something in common.
When we were doing the casino bill, I was walking up to the Capitol, my phone rang, I looked, it was Dickie Cranwell.
There you go.
I said,
Had
"Damn,
breakfast with
Dickie's
you.
got me mixed up with a Democrat.
I had breakfast with you Friday.
So Dickie and I are who go to lunch, he and Bill Hopkins and I go to lunch every year prior to, well, we didn't last year, we typically do. And I value Dickie's knowledge and opinion.
Absolutely.
Great guy.
He's that power.
Pardon?
He's that power you were
He had the
referring to
horsepower.
back in the day when we had
Tell
power in
Dickie-
this area.
Tell Dickie the next time you're with him that you heard he gives everybody in the legislature all Republican nightmares still. Because Dickie, when things go south on the Democratic side and Republicans are doing something, I was told Dickie to stand up on the floor and hold up 3 fingers. And that means you kill the next 3 Republican bills come on the floor. Do they? You kill. So I've got colleagues who say, damn, this will kill you on the heartbeat. But it didn't matter what it was. But yeah, Rosie's, I honestly think, and I've been working to get a Rosie's up the valley for some time. So I brought Bill Mudd and Bill Carstange, I went out to the Kentucky Derby this year, and I didn't go on their dime, I went on mine. While I was there, Bill Carstange, the CEO, and Bill Mudd, the CFO, took me around and treated us very kind. But I'm a supporter of Rosie's, big supporter of Rosie's, simply because of what I said, the problem gambling. Number one, you get state tax off that building, you get meals tax off that building. You get a percentage of the gambling, quite a bit of money. I know exactly how much it is a month.
Sure.
And you got 150 jobs there.
Sure.
And they give about $200,000 a year to philanthropy organizations.
Every bit of it.
So what are we gonna get off of convenience store? How many jobs will get off the convenience store? How do we control problem gambling? When they come into your building, in the building Rosie's, they're responsible for problem gambling. Now, I just told you earlier, I voted for the damn charitable gaming, and I did, but I've since figured out maybe there's a better angle here. And I've learned that from serving on this problem charitable gaming commission that I'm on. I know, I mean, I see the acceleration of problem gamblers in Virginia. We've got about 900 right now. Put themselves on a list. A lot of them put themselves on a list. A lot of them spouses are called and they're on the list, or some family members. So it's escalating, and I think the better way to control it is for facilities like yours. Plus, this year, budget, put in 0.25, 0.25.
0.0025.
0.00, see why I have him here. He's a lot younger than I am, his memory's back. 0.0025% of the dollars that you collect in Benton, Rosie's, don't go to Churchill, they go to the Horse Center in Lexington. So the Horse Center's getting about $1 million a year right now because of that language. The veterinary school's getting about $1 million a year. And one other thing, you recall what it was? Yeah. So anyway, I put that language in there because the Horse Center, not simply, but not always, because it's in my new district. I should have said I represent Alleghany, Craig, all of Botetourt, 2/3 of Rockbridge. So I had the city of Universal, city of Lexington, 39 over Goshen. But the Horse Center's getting money. And so it's a real tourist attraction. It should have been. The state built it and then the state stopped funding it. And that's burdens from on the locality for many years. Now, for every 100 machines that Rosie's has, we get one more day of horse racing. We have 27 days of horse racing at Churchill Downs now. Yeah, for Churchill. Colonial. No, Colonial Downs. We get it at Colonial Downs. Churchill's in Kentucky. We get it at Colonial Downs. I always get the two confused. But if we add 100 more machines, we get another day of racing. So like Dumfries is getting ready to come online, and they're gonna have like 1,500 machines, get 15 more days of racing. We want about 70 days of racing out there. We've got the nicest turf track in the United States in New Kent County. The nicest turf track in the United States. So I'm trying to get, Churchill now owns it. They bought it. They own it. Trying to get them to put their name on a horse center in Lexington. Why would you not? We've got 700 stalls there. If I can get a harness track built there, which I'm trying to do, they want to build a harness track in Virginia. I'm gonna get Ken Cam colleague up in the Stanton district. We'll put 2 boxes under 39. We'll keep the ponies in the barn, go under there and go race and bring them back. That's how I'm selling it to them. You don't have to build stalls. We already have. And they came there and they toured it. They said, we have nothing in Kentucky to compare to this. Nothing.
So one of the biggest caveats to that bill that actually was kind of negative, that event was that 30-mile radius. that they
Yeah,
put
oh,
in there.
yeah.
Or, I mean, I could have called one, Friday morning, 9:30 from a guy in Iron Gate. Well, I got 500 acres up in Bannock County.
Right.
So anyway, he called me and I've never met the man before in my life, and he, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yes. And he's like, let me tell you what Rosie's event's doing to us. And he owns one of those convenience stores in Iron Gate. I couldn't figure out which one.
Yeah.
So anyway, it did have some calls from Blacksburg. So
The governor didn't like that deal. The governor didn't want to sign the deal. And that's why he put those parameters around it. I mean, he and I talked about it. I was conferee. I was working through that budget deal that we cut. And, you know, when we balanced it, Democrats got everything they wanted. We didn't raise your taxes, no tax increase. The money was there to do it. And Governor, I talked every night, he didn't want to sign that bill. I don't know what will happen. I don't know if that bill will be on the table or not.
Appreciate you.
But I'm more a fan of roses. I think if we, the Commonwealth, were to strategically locate roses in, let's just say we went to Giles County, somewhere down that way, Benton, Rockbridge County, between Harrisonburg and Winchester, east of Charlottesville, and put roses in, that would make it fairly convenient for people to go gamble if they want to. Not that far of a drive, but it's a hell of a lot better than one inconvenience.
Mr. Chairman, we need to put him on the agenda every 90 days.
No.
Let's wait for the hotel. let people stay there.
I don't know how that's gonna fly. Yeah.
But in regards to all that, what about the VFWs, the American Legions, the Moose Lodges? That the little bit of money, they're not in competition with Roses, but the little bit of money that they make, that.
Moose Lodge don't want them anymore. Moose Lodge does not want, they're opposed to the skill games. I got letters from Moose Lodge saying, we don't want them
Right, well, that's a
anymore.
lot.
But they damaged, when they were out there, they damaged all the Moose Lodges and everybody's business tremendously. Because they had pull tabs and bingo. And they were making a lot of money off of them. Bedford Moose made a lot, it was in my district, made a lot of money.
Cause the moose lodges are governed, moose lodges are governed by the charitable gaming.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but the one in Salem now is telling, they tell me that it could mean the difference between them shutting the doors and staying open.
Well, the skills games,
Well, the money that they make off of that, as far as
Yeah.
paying for help, paying
I
for
agree.
utilities, and same thing with the VFW and the American Legion. I mean, all those,
I think we're gonna get the VFWs and the fraternal order police and the Moose Lodges where they can get a license, they'll be fine. And they can conduct bingo, pull tabs. But if skill games pass, they can put those in there, but it's gotta pass. And I'm not sure what it's gonna do yet. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna vote. Because I gotta look out for my greatest interest right now in Interstate 81. But now Churchill's told me, I know how much money you're getting, and I know how much money you send to New Kent every month. You send the same thing you get to New Kent every month.
that's right.
And that's a lot of money.
It is a
New
lot.
Kent, that's gonna change. That's gonna change.
We
We're gonna
get to keep
change.
more of it, is that what's up?
No, you may get to get more. You may get, but New Kent doesn't need what they're getting now because they're no longer maintaining Colonial Downs. Churchill's maintaining Colonial Downs. They were getting their equal share of what you paid, every one of the Rosies went to New Kent. New Kent getting about $1 million a month. They no longer, we're gonna study that, and they've been put on notice that that's probably gonna change.
Well, I agree with Hunter real quick, and I know it's transportation. However, I am a member of the Benton Moose Lodge.
right,
And, that's, we're governor of the charitable gaming for the machines. Unlike the skills games and unlike the other entities you're talking about, we had to, under the ramifications of the charitable gaming, we gave $70 million away in the last 60 days to charitable organizations throughout. I mean, and I got along VFW. We just did the VFW golf tournament at Cameron Country Club. So anyway, back to that part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge county.
Well, I'm hearing from Mooses now that they're okay. They don't, they're fine without them. But that may
that's
not
not
be.
the one to say,
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now.
yeah.
Okay, let's get back to transportation. Any more questions for Delegate Austin and Matt Miller on transportation? That's what the main reason they're here. If not, I will say this, we are, Jeremy and I and Victoria are gonna craft a letter to Governor Youngkin on that airport extension. We'd probably like to, talk to Matt about it, to make sure we're covering all the bases. And also, Mike Stewart. Mike, you wait over there?
No.
We want to make sure we get the best impact in that letter to Governor Youngkin. And it will stay in Roanoke counties and it will stay in the regional commission's legislative agenda.
Good.
And I encourage everyone else, if you don't have a legislative agenda, put one together and get it out to everyone that represents this area and anybody else you want to. But it's an effective tool to let people know what you advocate for. And it doesn't take too much time to put together. The other thing is, on page I-81, I was wondering, have we ever done has anyone in the state ever supported a community meeting at different places along the corridor concerning this tolling mechanism discussion? Because I don't think the public.
No, we did not. We did not, because we didn't want to roll something out that we were
Yeah.
uncertain of until we did a study, and the study proved that, you know, it's not cut. Now, you know, I'm hearing from these are called concessionaires, the people who do the construction and do the bidding.
Yeah.
And that's being an invite to bid. They say that they can build it and it tow it for cheaper than what the projections were. So I don't know, and maybe we'll revisit that at another time. I don't know yet.
Would you recommend, if not now, later, we write a letter on the governor on I-81, thanking him for what we have received and continued support for the future? We'll look for you for that, guy, because we're doing it at the airport,
It
but I
doesn't
don't want
hurt. I mean, a letter's not gonna hurt anything. The governor did acknowledge, I asked for 370 million and he did put 70 million in his introduced budget, which we kept in the budget. He had nothing to do with 175 million, but he didn't, you know, he's a friend of ours. And yeah, certainly write him a letter and ask for it. You know, ask for help and, you know, and then you can reference the timeline associated with the completion of the current plan, which is, I think, 2032 right now. I'll confirm that. I chair the I-81 committee. We'll be holding another meeting here pretty soon. You're on that committee, aren't you, Phil? Yeah. So, we'll be holding another meeting pretty soon to talk about what's going forward there. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to write a letter. And I'll be happy to sign on to your letter, or, you know, if you want to get the legislators in this region to sign on. As I said, we just had a letter written down in Martinsville that Eric wrote, that a bunch of us signed on to. And I know Senator Head would sign on to it. You know, he'd be happy to sign on to it. Mark Oakchain will sign on. We get plenty of it.
Okay. Appreciate that very much.
Sure.
With that said, going one time and the last time, any further questions? Delegate.
Y'all are easy, man. I'll tell you. Gosh.
All right. Laura, you don't want to ask any questions now?
Oh, I'm on his meeting calendar. I'm gonna get him alone.
I'll give you heads up that Lori is passionate about what you're gonna talk about, because we've talked about it. And also Floyd County is, because they got more rural roads than Franklin, but, so I just want you to have heads up. If you hear of anyone from Floyd County, that's probably what they're gonna want to talk to,
Right.
especially Jerry, what's his last name?
Booth.
Jerry Booth, over in Floyd.
Boy,
So thank you very much for coming today and appreciate all the value you shared with us. We appreciate your service. Hope you continue to serve many more years in the General Assembly. As long as you got that there, I figure you can go another 10 easy.
I like to have a little bit of a life, you know, like right now.
If they let y'all adjourn, you might be able to enjoy the rest of the year.
That's right. I will say one other thing. I'm not sure going forward how we'll collect revenue to support transportation. I think we'll end up going to mileage space. I don't see us staying. The efficiencies of the automobiles just keep improving.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. That's not a bad thing. But, you know, I think we'll end up going to a mileage space where, you know, people would use that one. It's a user fee. So we gotta find another structure. Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask something and you kind of just touched on it. Why is North Carolina able, it seems, to be able to build so much more road?
They're in a lot of debt because of that also. If you go look at their state debt, they've really overextended themselves for several years.
Okay.
But I will say this also, and Ken can chime in if he chooses to. The cost to build roads in North Carolina, in that Piedmont region, that flat
It's flat.
topography, has to be so much less money. I mean, it has to be. We're so challenged with granite and limestone and rock. I mean, it just expedites our cost tremendously. So I think that's part of the reason.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Delegate Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy,
So
thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do,
Appreciate
Jeremy.
it.
You do a great job.
And we love to come up with buck cannons, and we might be right up there and share that letter with you in person, because they got some good food up there.
Come anytime you want. Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a safe trip, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, we'll move on here on the agenda. Item number 6, consideration of adoption of supporting resolution on sub-allocation program funds for leverage and round stick and smart scale, found on pages 22 and 23 of your agenda. And the action that's requested is the consideration of the resolution. So if you would look that over if you haven't, and, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Or you got any comments on that?
Would it, or clicker, put this more down? Right, there we go. There we go. All right, quick reminder, in March, the TPO board, gave approval to a financial plan for our sub-allocation program funding, and that plan consisted of two components. One, to fund the 5 projects that are listed here on the screen. The second component was to take balance entry and reserve that for leverage in round 6 of smart scale. There are 3 projects that the TTC evaluated related to smart scale, one in Bogota County and the 2 in Roanoke County listed here. Their recommendation made earlier this month at their meeting was to take 5 million balance entry for the Bogota County project, and then a combined 7.6 million for the 2 Roanoke County projects. One note that the resolution does contain a conditional funding clause, which simply means that round 6 smart scale, the applications are due in August. If those projects are not successful in smart scale, then these funds would then return back into lead balance. So happy to take any questions, but this was the recommendation from the TTC.
Okay. Thank you, Tori. Having heard what Tori had to tell us about these 3 projects, do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Made by Amy White, Bogota County, seconded by Bradford, Roanoke County. By voice vote, but we gotta do a roll call.
Financial matter.
Let's roll call on that.
Yes, sir. Ms. White,
Yes.
Chair Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Radford,
Yes.
Mr. Volleson,
Yes.
Mr. Hollery,
Yes.
Mr. Foley,
Aye.
Joe Hall.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart. Aye. Mr. Huber,
Aye.
Mr. King.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, recommendation on an out-of-cycle request from the County of Roanoke. to Utilize transportation alternative funds found on page 24 through 26. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. If you all recall just a little bit of the background, in January, this board adopted a transportation alternatives program adjustment process, and it coincided with a previous request, an out-of-cycle request. We have today a request from Roanoke County that we received on May 28th for additional funding. And I'll get to that in just a second. Additional funding for UPC 122101, which is the Glade Creek Greenway in Vineyard Park West project. Additional funding for that already approved TAP project. And I wanted to, we have currently, based on the one awarded project of 409-224 earlier this year to the city of Roanoke for the West Side Salem Turnpike Curb and Gutter Sidewalk Project. And then with the anticipated FY25 TA funding, we have 792,528 in balance entry available to entertain for the request of $248,022 from the county. The process that I just mentioned for increases greater than 10%, the options in front of you are to scale back the project, use local funds, use tap balance entry reserve account funding, which is the request in front of you, to use tap funding in a phased application or to drop the project. At this point, I wanted to turn over to Ms. Megan Pronice with Roanoke County, and she's got a few slides to explain a bit about the project and the request.
Thank you very much, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Can we move to the next slide, please? Well, it doesn't always work. That's today. Thank you very much. So this is just an overview of the Greenway Plan, the 2018 Greenway Plan map, and it shows the Glade Creek Greenway located here, from the edge of the town of Benton up into Roanoke County, back into the city of Roanoke, and then into Roanoke County again. For context, so the status of the Glade Creek Greenway, phase 1 was completed from Virginia Avenue to Walnut Avenue in 2017 in the town of Benton. Phase 2B is currently under construction at the Norfolk Southern Bridge. Phase 2A from Gerhart Park to Gus Nix Boulevard opened in June of 2021. Phase 3 from Gus Nix Boulevard to Vineyard Park West has not started the PE phase yet. This is phase 4 of the Vineyard Park West, which was funded in 2022 and is the subject of this request. And phase 5 is through Vineyard Park East on the other side of Berkeley Road, which is an unsuccessful TA application and will be a future STBG request. So within Vineyard Park West, this is a half-mile long asphalt trail, 8 and 10 feet wide. It begins at the Berkeley Road parking lot, runs parallel to the creek, and then down into the town of Benton. So Roanoke County owns all of this land, but part of it's located in the town, most of it's located in Roanoke County. This avoids existing sports fields, preserves 2 Glade Creek access points, connects to 2 parking lots, and it's again entirely on Roanoke County property. I just hit it once, I swear.
That's what I call speed number.
Thank you, John. No, you too far. One more. Sorry. Perfect. Thank you. Few more. So we have 100% plans complete, using in-house staff, and they're approved by VDOT. We've spent less than $30,000 in preliminary engineering funds. The NEPA document is complete and approved. We have needed no right-of-way because this is entirely within a county park, and right-of-way certification has been received. But we calculated our new estimate based upon the cost that we got for the Explore Park Greenway through Explore Park, and we received those bids in March. And those costs made our estimate that we had generated in the summer of 2021, increased it by 48% for construction costs only. So the project cannot be advertised for construction bids until the project funding matches the latest estimate. Once that funding is obtained, Federal Highway authorizes advertisement and the bidding process is successful. Construction is anticipated to start by the end of this year. So we're very close to the finish line, but in recalculating that estimate, we learned that we did not have enough funding. I have one more. Thank you very much. So our current funds based on our 21 estimate, 521,000 in TA funding with our local match of 130,000. The 651,000 is available funds. Our 24 estimate, our estimate grew to $961,000 with it making a $310,000 deficit. So our request is 80% of that amount, which is $248,022. And Roanoke County does have the 20% local match available. I think that is the last slide. Yep, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Megan, make sure everyone understands that this is the second time we've had a cost overrun the first time.
This is only the first time.
You know, I'm gonna say this about these greenways. They're nice. Well, when you don't have enough money, sometimes you don't have to go the Cadillac route with an asphalt trail. You know, you can go ahead and put a center trail in like it's been done many areas in the county. And then later on come in with the asphalt. But this has increased 33% from what I can tell. From its original bid. It's taken 3 years to get where we are today, and the project hadn't even been put out to bid.
Well, we were awarded the funding in 2022. So it's taken less than 2 years to get to this point from the time that
I
it
certainly
started.
hope this is the last time that we have to see this project come before this board for funding. That's all.
We anticipate that it will be, but we haven't received bids.
Let's go ahead and get, anyone else has any questions on this project? Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions going once? That said, I would ask that we have a motion for roll call on this request for out of cycle from Rock County Roanoke to use transportation alternative fund.
So moved.
Second.
That said, we call a roll.
Mr. Chair. Ms. White,
Yes.
Chair North,
Yes.
Mr. Radford,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Holliday,
Yes.
Mr. Polis,
Aye.
Mr. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Huber.
Aye.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda, recommendation on an out-of-cycle request from the town of Benton to utilize transportation alternative funding found on page 27, 28, and 29 of your meeting packet. Brian Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Similarly to the previous item, on May 30th, we received a request from the town of Benton for an additional $78,893 for UPC 117,995 Lake Creek Greenway Phase 2B, which was a previously funded TA project. And doing a little bit of calculation and some crystal ball reading, we've got the available funding with the, again, with the previously allocated Roanoke City project and the project from Roanoke County that was just approved. And so again, we do have anticipated over 465,000 in available funds and balance entry to accommodate the request that has been recommended by the TTC. Again, the options that we talked about for requests that are over 10% of the original project cost. And at this point, I will pass it, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Sexton with the town of Benton to explain the request from Benton.
If I can just speak very briefly, didn't put together a PowerPoint for this. It's fairly straightforward request. This is the second time this project has come back to this board at VDOT's instruction to come here first for requesting additional funds. Part of the issue for this particular overrun, we are almost complete with construction. We had to relocate a water line. We went with the Water Authority's preferred route of boring under the creek. We tried twice. We hit a cavern both times. So we went to Plan B to relocate the water line. And this is to accommodate those costs. This is a very small stretch of trail that goes under a railroad, next to a creek, over a water line, and over a sewer line. So that is, that's all.
Kind of like going to grandma's house.
Yeah. You can stand on one end and literally see the other end of the project. It is that short, but it's complicated because of the confluence of all those pieces. So we did try twice with the Water Authority's preferred route with the water line relocation. We've now gone back to a new route that they have approved. So we are ready to construction. Contractors are scheduled to begin back on site regardless in the next couple weeks and hope to have this project done off the books by September.
You need to tell me the log perch aren't gonna hold it.
We have dodged log perch, bats, a train twice a day, we are very grateful and fortunate to the TPO for their continued support of this project.
Okey-dokey. Let's have some discussion. If you have any questions on it, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Chairman. Second. Any discussion on the motion? You got a second? Any discussion on the motion? Let's hurry up
I just
before
have a
before
quick
the third increase comes in the price.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the fiscal year impact of this, because the last one was presumably to be paid from current funds available, and that's the current fiscal year. This funding is to come from the 25 fiscal year?
No, it is to come from a combination of remaining balance entry funding and a combination of FY 25.
Right.
that was left over as a result of not utilizing 25 with the one project that was selected earlier in the year for the city. So essentially, it is all balance entry or reserve funding. That, in other words, there is no robbing.
But fiscal year 25 begins next week. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's why we said anticipate.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure you said this was going to be finished in September. I just want to make sure that we're funding this from those funds that it's available.
So, if I may just speak briefly, so the Benton project is a previously funded project that we're just requesting the last bit of money to get it finished. I think the Roanoke County project, because we discussed this in the TTC, the Roanoke County project is essentially needing an extra allocation of funds to go to the bid. So we're actively spending money. Roanoke County is preparing to go to bid. So I think the timing that's how the timing is sort of coming together. Does that help at all?
Yeah, again, if this were in December and we were 6 months away and you were talking about spending the money in 3 months, it would make more sense to reverse the order of these and to approve it to be paid from current. This is the current year, that next fiscal year. I don't think that sounds like it doesn't matter.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. We didn't call
Mr. Chair, Ms. White,
Yes.
Chair Norris,
it. Yes.
Mr. Radford. Yes. Mr. Volleson. Mr. Holiday.
Aye.
Mr. Bowley.
Aye.
Stovall. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Huber.
Aye.
Mr. King.
Mr. Chair, as Mr. Sexton, to echo what he said on behalf of the town of Benton, we do thank you for the increase to allow us to finish this project.
You're welcome. We gotta move on before the price goes up. Item number 9, recommendation of adoption of the 2024 update of public participation plan found on pages 30 through 63. Allison Jeanette. Then we gotta move it to a public hearing.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the consideration of the adoption of the 2024 update to the public participation plan. So we, I don't know, I'm assuming everybody knows what it is, but the public participation plan is a guiding document outlining the formal strategies for public engagement on transportation relating activities, but it's also kind of broadly used across the whole commission. The survey was between March 1st through March 14th, and we had a total of 140 responses. And a little bit of background on this. So this is an update. It was originated in 2018, and it had a previous update in 2021. So this update reviewed the entire document and incorporated results from the survey, which solicited community feedback on civic engagement, media preferences, and knowledge of TPO activities. We put the public participation plan draft on our website for the legal advertisement, was also distributed and had a 45-day public comment period. We did receive comments on our website, and those were reviewed, considered, and implemented in this draft that you're seeing today. So let's talk about the results. We found out that respondents do not regularly participate in local meetings, but they are more interested in community-oriented urban groups. A lot of people said neighborhood groups, so that's a good thing that we added into our strategies. And then we also identified some barriers. So the biggest ones were lack of information, interest, or the physical access to participate. And then the highest usage of consuming media was through social media platforms, and they were ranked as well. So how we get that information out will be, edited and monitored that way differently. So most respondents had seen transportation-related news posts or articles between weekly to monthly, and I was really happy to see that. And most had already participated in RVTPO survey or activity before. So we have like a HubSpot stakeholder list that we send out, but we were also able to get a lot of new participants, which that was great. And most preferred online surveys, community meetings or events or public hearings for parent feedback. So all this information will help us gauge how we should go forward and engage the public. And then demographics, the highest participation was between the ages of 55 and 65 plus. And it was predominantly white, there was more representing other races and ethnicities as well. And we had the highest participation in Roanoke City, Roanoke County, and Valley-Alleghany County. And this survey was distributed for the whole RVRC region, and we had almost every single locality respond in some capacity. And the first language was English, and we had some responses stating that Spanish was their first language. So when developing documents going forward, trying to ensure that things were translated or translatable. And then the annual household income range between 75,000 and 150,000. So the key updates, revisions to sections included the following, introduction and purpose of the public participation plan in general, and updating the description of the TPO committees and work groups and subgroups, and identifying objectives and updating engagement strategies based on the findings that we've had from the survey results. And the big things is that we are striving to create meaningful engagement with the public and let our organization be recognized and valued in creating impactful planning materials. So getting our name out there and having the engagement. And then we also want to produce high quality results that are representative and reflect the diverse range of our community and user interests. And we will continue to assess the effectiveness of our activities and engagements to best reach the community.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, public hearing, we'll open the public hearing. Do we have anybody online?
Should you tell them before they sign up, so that was requested to participate.
Okay, with that said, we close the public hearing and we will go with a voice vote. Do I have a motion to move recommendation of adoption of the 2024 public participation plan? Did you have a question? Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. And, Chairman, would you,
This
we do the voice vote. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes carried. Item 10, recommendation on amendment number 3 to the FY 24 through 27 transportation improvement program found on pages 64 and 65 of your agenda. Allison Stinnett.
Thank you. So we're going to be talking about the recommendation on the amendment number 3 for the 2024 to 27 TIP. So for this, we also had a public comment period for this amendment that ran starting June the 13th. And there was a legal ad that was posted, and it was also posted on our website, and we received no comments as of this afternoon. And the reason why we're discussing this is because it is an addition of a project, and a little bit information about the project. So as you may recall, in December, the TIP was amended to include a project from Virginia Public Rail Authority, VPRA, which funds the operational expenses of the state-supported Amtrak operations in the Roanoke Valley. So on June 5th, RVRC staff received a request from VDOT to amend this new project, which is called Transforming Rail in Virginia, VPRA. And this project funds the capital construction costs associated with Amtrak operations. So.
Okay, any questions for Allison on the subject? There being none, we will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone to speak on this? No one here? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. This is a roll call vote. I have a motion. We move item 10, recommendation on amendment 3 to the FY 24 through 27 transportation improvement.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Sure. Ms. White,
Yes.
Chair North,
Yes.
Mr. Radford,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace. Aye. Mr. Holliday,
Aye.
Mr. Foley,
Aye.
Mr. Stovall,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, with that said, we're moving on to item 11, other business. Is there other business come before the commission today? Okay, we're on with item 12, comment period by RVTPO college board members that are on the public. Anyone would like to comment? Going once, going twice. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Get everybody to vote on
Yeah,
that.
you don't have trouble getting that, do you?
Everybody heard that? I don't know what's in this room, but I think we can sleep here.
It went on too long.